On today's episode, Gronk breaks his forearm, the Patriots absolutely embarrass the Jets on Thanksgiving, and the Grizzlies are the NBA's best. You're watching The Pitch.
We're singing, hey, you can't count us out. We've been running up against the crowd. Yeah, we're the dark horses.
Welcome to The Pitch. As always, I'm your host, John Fox, alongside here with Mitch Sabatelli. Now, Mike Peps Peroni couldn't be here this week, so that means I'll be filling in as an analyst for him. So, Mitch, the first topic of the day, big news, Rob Gronkowski breaks his forearm out 4 to 6 weeks. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, and initially you see 4 to 6 weeks. You're talking about Rob Gronkowski, who was an MVP contender last year, and you're thinking, oh, the Patriots are screwed. But offensively, it seems like Belichick and Brady are getting this team all fired on all cylinders again. You know, they brought Aaron Hernandez back a little too early a few weeks ago, but now that he's back a few weeks after, he's back healthy, and he was productive last night against the Jets. But listen, I think this offense is more than capable of filling in for Rob Gronkowski for a few weeks. And the most important thing is make sure when Rob Gronkowski does come back that he is fully healthy. You seen him last year in the Super Bowl. He was a little hindered with that what was it, the foot injury with Bernard Pollard. And you saw Chase Blackburn intercept it right there in a normal ball that Rob Gronkowski would have had for a touchdown. Hopefully that does not happen again. Belichick doesn't string this on too long, and he just keeps him out until he needs to actually be out. You know, if it's a couple weeks and it's like, oh, he can play. I mean, he's a young kid. He's only 23 years old. He's going to want to get back on the field. Belichick needs to hold him out until he's perfectly 100%. Make sure that he's fully ready for the playoffs. And this is I mean, it looks like it's a bad injury, but I really don't think it would.
Yeah, fortunately for the Patriots, they've I'd like to say they've pretty much locked up the division with an 8-3 record, and the second best team is the 4 and 6
Bills Dolphins,
and then you got the 4 and 7
Jets. You see the Jets, and on paper they are the second best team, but with the injuries with Revis, I mean, it's all Patriots. It's Patriots all day in the AFC.
All right, moving on. Speaking of the Jets, we're going to talk about the game, Thanksgiving, the just absolute kill out. I mean, in the first half of that, I thought I was watching a sitcom on it.
Well, anyways, it was 3 touchdowns, I think 6-minute span right there. I believe Mark Sanchez actually ran into his own offensive lineman's ass and fumbled the ball. I mean, that pretty much sums up the Jets season right now. Rex Ryan looks dumbfounded on the sidelines the whole entire game.
That's going to be on the top 10 players of the week.
Yeah, listen, I think this Jets team is a complete disgrace. Like I just mentioned previously, they do have some injuries with Holmes, who was having a pretty good season before he went down, and of course Darrelle Revis, who's their standout defender and possibly the best defensive player in the game today. Look, Mark Sanchez has been criticized the whole entire year with Tim Tebow right behind him. I think that it's important to, either address one way or the other. Listen, Mark Sanchez is going to be our quarterback no matter what for the next couple of weeks for the rest of the season, or possibly Tim Tebow could come in. None of this, we'll take it. For right now, Mark Sanchez is our quarterback. Rex Ryan needs to make a statement and leave him in there, because they looked absolutely embarrassed last night on Thanksgiving, and it was 35-3 at the half. It was a complete demolishing of the Jets, and I've never really seen them play that bad.
It was a definite must-win to get back any chance for any hopes of
and sadly,
playoffs, just entry to the playoffs. And it was a big game. I mean, they're 0-2 against the Patriots.
And basically, the Patriots did lock it up, like I just mentioned. And like I said, this is without Rob Gronkowski, and Aaron Hernandez just came back. And I don't even think Brady played a great game, to be honest with you. 2 of his big throws were little laterals to Shane Vereen, and he went down for 93 yards. And a lot of the scoring plays were off defensive interceptions, and then Edelman ran a few back. Now listen, I think the Jets are a decent team, and they will be back next year, but it's just these injuries that hurt them.
All right, moving on. Houston remains the top seed, in the AFC after beating Detroit in a close one, 34-31. Thoughts on this?
And they should have lost the game. Jason Hanson hit the upright, and he should have won. He should have won it for Detroit. And Jason Hanson's been pretty clutch on Thanksgiving, actually. But I mean, Houston, they're definitely a soft 10-1. And like I said, with these injuries, it always seems like they have an injury. I've said this the last couple of weeks. But Andre Johnson's putting up 200-yard performances, and he's really back to like 08 Andre Johnson, really going down the field and really showing everybody that he is still that dominant receiver over there on that left side. And, Max Schaub's, he's back. He had a real good game 2 weeks ago against the Jaguars of all teams. But, they've showed that they can win that offensive showdown against the Jaguars. They can show that they win the close game against Chicago. 13-7 game. They can win 50-40. This is a real good offense as well as that defense. And J.J. Watt, already 14.5 sacks on the season. He looks like the defensive player of the year. I like Houston. I like Gary Kubiak's coaching style this year. I really think Houston is a Super Bowl contender.
It's really a shame that the Lions actually lost it because Matt Stafford, terrific game. And finally, Calvin Johnson getting a touchdown. I mean, a loss of touchdowns this year. I mean, would you say a lack of communication between Stafford in the red zone? I mean, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think Calvin Johnson just had another touchdown. It was, it's only third of the year.
Yeah, he's been a yard racker-upper this year, but I mean, I'm pretty sure he's
touchdowns.
Either one or two in receiving yards. But moving on, we're moving on to the rest of the week. 12 games, good games this week. Minnesota at Chicago. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think Minnesota's playing a little over their head. I believe they're 6-4. Look, Chicago's lost the last couple. I think Chicago's going to come back and win this game. It's at Chicago, right? Yeah.
Yes.
At Soldier Field. Listen, Jason Campbell's been feeling decent for Jay Cutler, and that defense is still holding up. They weren't as dominant as they were last week, and that's the reason why they've been losing. They really need to have Charles Tillman and Lance Briggs step up and play like they've been playing all year for them to even have a chance. Tim Jennings as well. But, I mean, this little Jay Cutler injury is devastating. I look for the Chicago to 2 rebound.
How long is Jay Cutler actually out for?
I don't know. It's conflicting reports, but I believe it is for the next couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks, yeah. Well,
3?
He's back.
Is he back?
They cleared him for this game.
They cleared him for today? All right. Excuse me.
well, then that's Jason Campbell is not a factor. I was gonna say, like, I feel like they could have at least thrown somebody better out than Jason Campbell. Jason Campbell's career is just awful. I mean, after he's a failing quarterback year after year. All right, moving on. So you pick Chicago to definitely win this one. Okay, moving on to the second game: Atlanta at Tampa.
Yeah, I know Tampa's been pretty good this year as well with the addition of Vincent Jackson, but I got to go with Atlanta here. This could be a trap game for Atlanta, but, they've been too dominant offensively here. I don't think Tampa's defense is going to be able to stop those weapons, Julio, Roddy, Michael Turner, Tony Gonzalez, etc. over there. Atlanta's offense has been great all year, and a lot of people think that their defense is a little overrated, but frankly, I don't think Tampa does have that much offensive weapons for this defense to even, I think Atlanta's going to be able to stop this Tampa Bay defense.
You don't think Tampa has enough offensive weapons?
I don't think they have enough offensive weapons.
They have very big key like Vincent Jackson,
and
Doug Martin, but
and Doug Martin has argued
those can make a ridiculous difference.
Right.
I mean, Josh Freeman he's been sticking it. He's been sticking it to them. He's been keeping them right.
Doug Martin's going to have a huge game for Tampa.
Do you think Tampa will make the playoffs?
That's a tough question. I mean, right now they're in good position at 6-4. However, I think they're going to be in the next couple of weeks. I think they're going to fall short.
All right. Moving on to games of the week: Green Bay at Giants.
Yeah, here's a real good game, and no one's better than these two players in with the spotlight on them, and Aaron Rodgers and Eli. Eli, the last couple of weeks, hasn't been the Eli that we all know. Everyone was saying how right now they can put him as the fourth best quarterback at the start of the season, especially because he just won that Super Bowl. In the last couple of games, he's been not as great. But I think with the light on him, I think Eli's going to dominate against Green Bay.
Tom Coughlin's pretty pissed.
Right, and you see with Giants, they're 6-4. They have this division all basically locked up. Yeah, Redskins are right there with 5 wins.
If they drop this one, that's 4 straight, right?
Right. And
Eli has thrown. I'm very sure. I was watching this the other day. He has thrown no touchdowns. It was on ESPN. I'm pretty sure he's thrown no touchdowns. Yeah, in the last 3 games.
Right.
That's ridiculous. That's awful.
Awful fantasy numbers as well.
Yeah,
but, this is
what happened to the clutch.
This is what happened. No, this is what happened to the Giants. They're always like a 7-17, and then as long as they get to the playoffs 9-7, they'll just roll through the playoffs.
Out of nowhere.
But I am going to go with the Giants in this game. I think at Giants Stadium, I think they might pull this out against Aaron Rodgers.
All right, so you're taking the Giants.
I am.
All right, moving on to the final game of the week: San Fran at the Saints.
Yeah, the Saints are on a tear right now. I think Drew Brees is back into that MVP discussion, especially with all those off-the-field concerns with the Saints. I'm going to say the Saints pull this one out. Everyone's saying how great the San Francisco defense is. I mean, if you're tying to the St. Louis Rams, I don't think that offense is as great as you. And yeah, Kaepernick has been good these last couple of games, But I do think the Saints are going to stop him here. I think Drew Brees is going to be too much for that defense. I'm going to say Drew Brees wins here.
All right. Now moving on to the NBA. The Celtics beat Oklahoma City 108-100. Is Boston still relevant with this big win?
Well, yeah, this is definitely making them a little bit more relevant in that East. But listen, I do think the Boston Celtics are still a championship contending team, but I don't think they're as great as people were expecting them to be at the beginning of the season. And this is a big, big, bold win, a bold statement win against OKC. OKC, I believe, was 8-3 before that game. Now they're 8-4. This is a must-win game for the Celtics, and they took it to them and they won. Rajon Rondo continues that double-digit assist streak, and he's putting himself into that MVP race this first quarter of the season. I really like what Rajon Rondo has done, and I really like what Doc Rivers has done with the coaching with Rajon Rondo and all these new players. I do think Boston is still relevant. I also do think that they're a championship contending team.
All right, and finally, the big story, Memphis is 9-2 in the early season. Are they the NBA's best?
Look, I mean, their backcourt is pretty strong with the defense of Tony Allen, who can basically lock up anyone defensively. And then you got Mike Conley, who's been playing pretty well. But really, it's that front court of Marcus Gasol, Zebo, Zach Randolph, and Rudy Gay, who's been putting up 20 points a game. But Zach Randolph and Rudy Gay has really been the two leaders on this team. And Memphis, they're a great combination of the veteran leadership of Zach Randolph and also the young guys, the Rudy Gays, the Mike Conleys, and it's a real good mix there. Energetic, but also experienced. I really like what Memphis is doing. And they were good last year, and they gave the Spurs, they gave the Spurs all they could handle, and everyone thought that they were going to be able to possibly get to the Western Conference Finals. They ended up falling a little bit short. No, I don't think that they have a shot at a championship, but they're definitely going to end up being a 4 or 5 seed, I believe, in the West.
All right, well, that about wraps it up for this episode, unless you have any other things to include.
I'll include that if we're talking about Western Conference championship contenders, I'd still put the Clippers in there. I would put the Lakers in there. The Spurs with the experience, but I gotta say that OKC is still the front runner. In the East, if Amari Stoudemire gets back, I think the Knicks can be right back there. Brooklyn, I think, is a fake. I don't think they'll be a contender. Boston's going to be right there, and of course, Miami.
All right, well, that about sums it up for this week's episode of The Pitch. Until then, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, anything. We have it, pretty much. So until next week, you're watching The Pitch. Have a good one.